In yellow up near the front today.
Unless you've ever actually done this, Phil, it's difficult to understand how quickly a main field can get ripped apart by the crosswinds. And as easy it is to ride directly behind the man in front of you, once you start to get the crosswinds and there's no way of getting up alongside him on the left or on the right hand side in a diagonal position, if you get those crosswinds, it really is a very difficult thing to do. It's almost, if you've got a strong rider like Fabian Cancellara, you can actually ride a rider off your wheel in the crosswinds, which is why all of a sudden we've seen Team Astana coming up to the front end of the main field, because they want to make sure their man Vincenzo Nibali is kept safely at the front end of the main field in case it starts to change direction. Just like this, riders will be looking way up the road. They've looked at the map this morning, they've studied the wind direction, the team manager would have talked it through, and if he feels that there's a certain point where the race changes direction, for example through 90 degrees, he will have had a word with the guys and said, look, at this point, ride at the front, make sure that teams like Lotto don't try and take half of the road and blow the race apart. Well, the farmers from this part of France now, as we start to move away from the Alpes de Provence and we drop down into the Vaucluse, they're very happy to enjoy the route of the Tour coming right through their backyard.
Astana on the right, Lotto Belisol on the left, but not riding for Jürgen van den Broek, Paul. They're riding for Andre Greipel. Back of the peloton, you can see the storm ahead of them. They are running into bad weather here, and a good captain knows when you get bad weather, you batten down the hatches, and that is why Vincenzo Nibali there down there, Nibali, is being brought to the fore by his team to keep him out of trouble. These are the two leaders here. Jack Bauer having a real push today for Garmin Sharp. They lost their team leader, Andrew Talansky. There's so many teams in this year's Tour who have lost their team leaders with injury, and also the I Am Cycling rider, the champion of Switzerland, Martin Elmiger. They lost their team leader as well, Matthias Frank. He crashed out with a broken femur on stage 7.
Just looking at the speed, it has, as you said, Phil, been very rapid in the start. It was 29 miles an hour, almost 50 kilometers an hour to begin with until the breakaway established. But now, as these riders pick up this fairly favorable tailwind, they will be pushing speeds to, again, up towards 30 miles an hour, which makes me wonder whether two riders can actually survive off the front end of a main field like this. Bearing in mind we're going into a rest day, the teams of the sprinters will be able
2 kilometers for the two leaders from the sprint of the day, not from the finish of the race. They are approximately 1 kilometer and a little bit ahead of the peloton, who are now coming on this long straight road. And as you can see, the rain has found the Tour de France now.
And it will make it very tricky coming into town, but to get to town we've still got 48 kilometers, which is about 30 miles of racing left to go, and it will probably be knocked off now in around about the 1 hour time, and we'll see a lot of battling for position coming into the final few kilometers, because it's a very tricky and a rather precarious approach into town.
Day 1.
Well, there's Michael Kwiatkowski coming to the front. He had that little flurry of activity just a few moments ago. The gap now is down to around about half a minute. That's 500 meters. Don't look over your back shoulder now, Jack, because you'll see the main field. You've got to count. Well, this is Omega Pharma quick step moving forward. That's Tony Martin.
Yeah.
You recognise his style.
The familiar punching style of Martin. If anybody can ride up to the two leaders, it's the world time trial champion. But that roundabout is drying out, as you can see, significantly. He's drying away here. He's doing a sacrificial job here to try and make the peloton close it down. Possibly for Mark Renshaw to go head-to-head with Marcel Kittel, Alexander Kristoff, Andre Greipel.
Well, you know what? If they want to go to the finish line and catch these two riders, they need to stay on the wheel of Tony Martin. But now it's put the pressure onto somebody else. Look at this. This is Team Katusha. The red jerseys with the white stripe right down the middle. Tony Martin thinks, oops, I went a little bit too fast here. We're inside of the last 5 kilometers now, Phil, and every kilometer or so there is one of those roundabouts, and that's where it's precarious. That's where it's slippery, and that's where you've really got to watch out.
Well, what an amazing strength that German cyclist has. He rode away from the peloton, who are supposedly at the limit now, to try and catch the bridge, a gap of just 30 seconds. Here comes Katusha now, revving it up. Nobody else. They pulled off Lotto Belisol. Katusha hoping to deliver Alexander Kristoff to the line.
Well, you know what? 30 seconds with 4 kilometers to go. It's touch and go as to whether or not those two riders off the front, and let's not forget Jack Bauer and Martin Elmiger, really create a little bit of a surprise here this afternoon, because after almost going to be almost 5 hours in the saddle this afternoon. These guys will be wondering if they've made a mistake or not.
Well, computers keeping out of this one now. It said they'd be caught at 19 kilometres. It's not making any comment at this stage of the race. 30 seconds, 3.5 kilometres to go. The bunch has just gone through the 4 kilometre marker. Somebody's taken an absolute flyer here as they leave the race. This is another counter move by Omega Pharma Quickstep.
They realise now they've got to really throw caution to the wind. And again, Team Katusha at the front there are still trying to get themselves August. Now it's Cannondale now trying to sort it out for open to second position. There is Peter Sagan.
And Sagan is now locked into a teammate. The two leaders have gone through 3 kilometres to go. They're still working well together. They are in desperate moments. The gap is holding at 28 seconds here. And I'm not too sure who this Omega Pharma Quickstep rider is, but I think it is Nicky Terpstra who's trying to get off the front.
No, again, they're coming forward now. This is a little move as we start to slow them all down.
It's Golas, I think, who's trying to go for it.
Two leaders, though, are still holding on to 27 seconds.
Another change of attack at the front. They're at 3 kilometres to go. That's how close we are to the kilometre counters.
Well, again, Tony Martin has seen there's a little bit of weakness in the main field this afternoon, and he has opened up a smart advantage. He's taunting everybody else to try and chase him down, and he's putting pressure on the teams of the sprinters who seem to have run out of firepower. He knows that time is running out to catch the two leaders.
They cannot believe this. They cannot believe they're not catching these two riders. 24 seconds to go, just over 2 kilometres to go. This is an incredible show of defiance against the Tour de France. They've led the race for 219.5 kilometres. This is not the way it's supposed to be. Individually, riders are having a go. He's got a soft tyre.
Well, that was Daniele Bernate, and he was just bouncing in the back wheel there, and I think just as he started to make the attack, he felt there he's got the radio.
He's got a flat tyre.
That is just bad luck at a moment like this. We're inside now, 2 kilometres to go, and Tony Martin is still leading. 20 seconds to the two leaders as we come into another one of those roundabouts.
Well, thank heavens they have more or less dried these roads, but this would have been an extremely tricky run-in. Tony Martin pulls down his sunglasses. How ironic is that after the race they've been through? We are finishing this stage in glorious warm weather now, and these two riders are trying to get there first. 18 seconds, 1.5 kilometres to go. The sprinters are confused. They're trying to lead the sprinters out, but they can't catch the two up front.
Giant Shimano in control now, followed by Katusha. Now those two riders, they must continue to collaborate at the front of the group. If they start looking over their shoulders and making mistakes and trying to be tactical, they will see that 16 seconds get wiped away so quickly. These two guys, they've got to give it all now up until the last 200 metres or so. 1.2 kilometres to go at 15 seconds.
1 kilometre to go, Banner. 14 seconds the gap. Is it going to be end-to-end? Tony Martin still trying to bring them back. These two riders, just 1 kilometre to go. Is there any other scenario this year's Tour de France can throw at us? Tony Martin trying to ride away from the sprinters and shut them down as the 900 metres to go. It is 12 seconds to the line. Martin Elmingen is saying, Jack, come through, but Jack wants to win.
Well, he does want to win. He's got into first position now, and Martin Elminger has got the slipstream. Elminger is a professional who's been around for many, many years. He's a crafty bike rider when it comes to a moment like this. They must not play too many tactical games because those time gaps will get wiped away. They're looking at 500 metres to go. The main field are very, very close. It's 9 seconds the gap now.
Well, this has been incredible, a stage of 222 kilometres. They've done 221.2. The sprinters started from behind. As now Elminger goes, is Jack Bauer going to be able to finish this off and give Andrew Chalansky, the injured race leader, a special present? Bauer has gone. This could be a rare victory for New Zealand. Julian Dean, I think, was the last man to get a victory. As the sprinters are coming right on him, is he going to hold it end to end? This is a desperate moment as the sprinters and Christoph hits the line and gets to say, Paul, how unlucky. A matter of 10 metres and he lost the stage. Incredible.
He could see the victory. He could sense the victory at that point, but he was overtaken. He's still going to finish inside of the top 10 or 15 on a stage like today. The sprinters come back so very, very quickly. Heinrich Hausler over there on the right-hand side for IAM Cycling, but Alexander Kristoff, I have to say, really does it to perfection.
Of course, it all depends on your point of view. For Jack Bauer, the stage finished 3 seconds short of perfection. That's how close he was to winning when the bunch caught him. And no amount of congratulation on his superb effort was any consolation to him at the finish.
Bitter disappointment, eh? It's a childhood dream to win a stage of the tour. And for a person like myself, domestique, I'm normally in, working in the service of others. So this is my first chance to actually be up the road. And with the change in the wind and the weather in the last 100k, we really realised, myself and Martin, that we were in with a chance for the win. So I played him in the finale. I tried to look like I was as tired as possible, and I felt like I still had one more punch. So I launched at 400 to go, and man, I thought I had it. I realised in the last 50 metres that I had nothing.